I don't know what it is about Fiona and Cake, but the 6th episode of both seasons is where things really pick up, as The Bird and the Clock is the strongest episode we've had in season 2 thus far. Not only do we get insight into what these characters are going through, like Fiona's trauma, Cake's struggle to adapt to humanity, and Huntress Wizard's opposition to vulnerability, but we also get Finnception, as Fiona, Farmworld Finn, and our homeboy from all meet up in an adventure across the Dreamscape. Lots to talk about as always, so let's just dive right into it. Spoilers ahead. This episode kicks off with the surprising origin story of Cosmic Owl and his mysterious brother. This background feels like it's pulling from various religious figures and mythologies, but the primary two are Sun Wukong and the story of Adam and Eve. In a celestial realm that we can only assume is the same one where the Citadel resides, given the presence of its guardians, two inseparable brothers would wreak havoc across the realm with their chaotic pranks, similar to Sun Wukong's antics in heaven. However, they went too far after they indulged in the forbidden, etheric pizza, which calls to mind Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit. The two brothers turn on each other when being judged for their sins by a deity that's either Orbo, Scarab's boss who we met last season, or someone that's adjacent to Orbo. Given the familial theme here, it also makes sense that this was one of his relatives. The two brothers fighting is what sealed their fate, with the accused banished from the realm, like how Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden, or even how Lucifer was cast out of heaven, and the other brother was punished for turning on his own blood by being assigned the eternal duty of Fate's messenger, transforming him into none other than Cosmic Owl. It's unclear these two brothers were actually conjoined, or if this was a choice that accompanies the stylization of this vignette and just represents how close they were, but either way, it does convey that Cosmic Owl's current form embodies his biggest regret, betraying his brother, as his face sports the illusion of two birds intersecting with one another, as if they were conjoined twins. Now you may be wondering who this brother is, and if it's a character we've met before, but I think the answer is fairly obvious. The brother is the narrator, the same voice that Huntress Wizard heard after being engulfed by the heart of the forest. All three roles are even credited as Shan Rohani, so expect to become properly acquainted with this brother down the road. In her latest attempt to save the sweet spot, regardless of how it affects her friends, Fiona pitches an Abadir-owned morgue as the venue, which I think is a pretty on-the-nose demonstration of how Fiona is digging her own grave. She's so desperate to save the day and prove that she's worthy of being a hero, that she's putting the friends she's trying to help in extremely uncomfortable situations. Marshall wants nothing to do with his mother. All she does is repress everything that makes him great, as she longs to mold him into the man that she wants him to be. We even see that she has his post-mortem arrangements already figured out, with a sarcophagus made in his likeness, paired with another that's a one-size-fits-all for whoever Marshall ends up with, highlighting that she doesn't really care to get to know Gary or any potential partner her son has, as it's irrelevant to Abadir's bigger picture for him. Hunter and Huntress Wizard encounter each other outside the morgue, and just as you would expect, it takes no time at all for the two to start clashing, though I do like how Hunter is initially in awe of his multiversal counterpart, observing Huntress and calling her a beautiful plant in Spanish before she snaps at him for touching her hair, and he realizes, oh shit, that's not a plant, that's a person. Still, he was feeling himself in a roundabout way for a moment there. Huntress Wizard reduces Hunter to a weak version of her, which is hilarious given how absurdly jacked Hunter is, but she's not referring to physical attributes or the fact that he's a powerless human while she's a plant dude who wields green magic. Huntress Wizard is calling Hunter weak because of what she knows about the Fiona, Flame, and Hunter love triangle. She has some awareness that Hunter is more emotionally vulnerable than she is, and given that she can't even tell Finn that she loves him back later in this episode, it's clear she sees this as a bad thing. Huntress wouldn't even entertain a love triangle with Finn. If he was caught between her and another girl, she'd probably make the choice for him and bow out of his life altogether. She doesn't like how this alternate version of herself is entangled in emotions that she's evaded for years. But really, she could learn a thing or two from Hunter. He's like one of the most emotionally mature Adventure Time characters ever. Checking back in the Kingdom of Ooh, Finn's health continues to deteriorate thanks to the poison of the heart of the forest. And we get some major payoff to the Stakes miniseries from 2015, 10 whole years later, not too long after the anniversary of the event, as Marceline is influenced by the the Vampire King's essence to save Finn by turning him into a vampire. After they drained the Vampire King of his vampiric essence, and Peppermint Butler spilled the bucket it was contained in, the essence manifested into a dark cloud that ultimately was absorbed by Marceline, ending a short period where she was no longer a vampire. This concluded with the Vampire King existing in Marceline's head as a sort of hallucinatory figure, but it never really came back up again until now. Marceline is evidently very easily influenced by the Vampire King's essence, as it doesn't take much convincing for her to bite Finn. Granted, she was already ruminating on the idea. Still, with how Fiona and Cake has proven that it can set up future plot points at any moment, the Vampire King's return here may allude to him trying to push Marceline to revive him in the main universe later in the series. Marceline's attempt to vampirize Finn fails, as it appears most of his blood has been infected by the poison that also knocks out Marceline in an instant. But since she's immortal, and she wasn't impaled by the heart of the forest in the same way that Finn was, she'll be fine. She just needs a little nap. Huntress Wizard falls asleep while watching baby Finn rampage through the apartment, projecting her stress onto the infant as he rapidly ages into the Finn we know and love. Not just into adulthood, but also the elderly man that Finn dies as, which we were shown back in the Distant Land special Together Again. This is more than just an Easter egg, as it doesn't take long for Cosmic Owl to make his presence known. His presence makes dreams come true, and as we've seen throughout the past couple of episodes, Finn does appear to be getting all wrinkly. He may actually be rapidly aging like baby Finn in Huntress's dream, speedrunning himself into an early grave. While I doubt he'll actually kick the bucket, the show is taking advantage of our expectations and is building up tension by indicating Finn didn't actually die as an old man, but as a young 30-year-old guy who fell victim to magic beyond his understanding, and that he died doing what he loved, adventuring. Huntress refuses to let him go out like that though, as she leaps into action and begins hunting down Cosmic Owl throughout the Dreamscape, set on taking his life. As the city of Midtown slumbers, Fiona's trauma resurfaces. First, the Winter King's piano melts before her eyes, reminding her yet again of how the Winter King's world seemed like a utopia, but it was all a lie that fell apart the moment its terrifying nature came to light when she learned that the Winter King was projecting the crown's madness onto his world's PB. It also reminds Fiona that this kingdom only crumbled because she inadvertently normalized the crown, causing Winter King Simon to crumble into dust in her arms and the various ice inhabitants to dissipate. She's also haunted by the syrupy blood on her hands from slaying the various candy guards who probably didn't deserve to go out like that, as they were simply obeying orders from Bubblegum, who only went insane because of the man Fiona was trying to rescue. Despite being deceived, Fiona still can't shake the feeling that she ruined this world while trying to save her own. She feels like a loser, which is why the winner Choose Goose repeats Queenie's words from earlier in the season at Fiona. This world and the vampire world might be worse off because of her adventures. Also, Fiona could canonize a world that she's struggling to find her place in, one where the people she cares for are in jeopardy of having their feelings and futures shattered because of her own actions. She doesn't know what to do. She feels stuck, but she doesn't know what the solution to her problems are because she feels like she's the one holding herself down. Yet before she can unpack any of this, Huntress Wizard swings by, briefly appearing as her vampire world variant, and lets Fiona know that she's dreaming, allowing Fiona to dream lucidly and accompany Huntress on her chase. Cake's dream sees her on Cheers, delivering her own litter of kids that are clearly meant to parallel Jake's, but notice how even in this dream, she feels obligated to maintain her human form. She feels compelled to start a family of monochromacorn because that's the end goal for a lot of humans, right? Starting a nuclear family? This isn't just a quick gag. This dream is an expression of Cake's anxiety and how she feels obligated to fit in amongst the humans of Midtown by forcing herself to be just like them. Sadly, she's also stopped from unpacking this any further, as she also gets sucked into Huntress and Fiona's dream chasing. Marshall's dream features his pursuit of Simone and how he wants to reconnect with her, as the brief time he spent with her as a child gave him a better parental figure than Hannah ever was. Honestly, I've been waiting for this subplot to unfold completely so I can dissect all of it in one big video, so I don't have much to say on this for now. One of the more curious moments of this episode happens when Fiona enters a dream where both Hunter and DJ Flame declare their love for her, where she ultimately chooses Flame and Hunter is oddly chill about it. Fiona assumes this must be Flame's dream, yet the episode never clarifies if it is. To be honest, I honestly don't think this was Flame's or Hunter's dream, but Fennel's. She said back in season 1 that she had some pretty weird dreams, and I think this would definitely qualify if this actually is from her perspective. We could assume assume that she knows Hunter is into Fiona, given that they're close friends. And I would imagine that she's aware Fiona and Felix dated for 6 months and have recently reconnected. She might have anxiety over Felix leaving her for Fiona, and that anxiety manifested in this Netflix Never Have I Ever Asked dream. Or maybe she just wants all 3 of them. Does Adventure Time have the balls for a polycule? Probably not, but it'd break everyone's brain, so I'd love to see it. After Huntress wakes up Fiona, she uses Fiona as a conduit into Finn's dream by using her mind to enter Farmworld Finn's mind, since that's a Finn that Fiona's already met, and that Finn met our main Finn. It's Finnception! The Finnverse, whatever you want to call it. Checking into Farmworld Finn, we get the much needed confirmation that he survived his battle with Scarab, giving Fiona some much needed relief, as the guilt of her adventures has been eating her alive. And she returns the favor by informing Farmworld Finn that Jay and Little Destiny are safe in her world. Though it's debatable if he'll actually remember this dream and retain this very valuable information. Farmworld Finn's mindscape is pretty much just screaming at the audience that he was indeed married to his world's version of Huntress Wizard. Not only is he bathing in the stew that she used to make, that the family was seen eating last season, but the outer perimeter of his mind is a beautiful garden, evoking the plant imagery associated with Huntress Wizard. I think Huntress herself realized this, because she quickly grows impatient and demands Fiona to connect with the right Finn. Once again, any sign that she's capable of emotional vulnerability and long-term commitment scares the shit out of her. Surprising no one, Finn is spending his coma time dreaming of quality adventures where he gets to save those in need. In this first dream, he kicks the bucket like how he always envisioned, saving somebody. After defending some innocent clock people, he gets mauled to death by these pocket watch bats, which reminds Fiona of Vampire World Martin getting killed by Marceline. Something else this episode hammers in is that Finn was never able to move on from Jake's death, as in his subsequent dreams. He's wielding Jake's sword from Tree Trunks' debut episode, and when he initially meets Fiona, he asks what her deal is, and after she explains that she's here to keep him alive, he deduces that she's his girl Jake. Finn told Jake and Together again that after Jake passed, he spent the rest of his life waiting to see him again. He didn't have a death wish, but he also really didn't have much incentive to live either. He just kept trying to be the best hero he could be for everyone else. So for him to say that and respond to Fiona's mission kinda shows how aimless he is about his best friend, and how desperate he is to fill the void that Jake left behind. Finn dies a bunch, reaffirming Fiona's imposter syndrome as she fails to save him over and over again. Finn and Fiona share their iconic stream together, and ultimately, while it's starting to seem like Finn's death is unavoidable, Huntress Wizard has at least bought them some much needed time as she takes Cosmic Owl's life. It's crazy how blasé they are about it, because on paper, this is one of the most significant deaths in all of Adventure Time. We just watched Huntress kill a god. If Cosmic Owl is dead, does this mean that croak dreams are no longer a thing? Will there be a noticeable decrease in deaths as a result of this? Or will someone else be appointed as the new Cosmic Owl and that's all there is to it? I feel like that last one probably makes the most sense, but that can only happen if they realize Cosmic Owl's dead in the first place. And Huntress hid his body alongside all the other dead Dream Finns. Honestly, with how sudden it is, I feel like people should be skeptical about this death being permanent, especially with his mysterious brother still being out there, but only time will tell. We get a brief but very nice reunion between the two Finns, although our Finn doesn't really recognize him, probably because they want to keep the door open for all the Finns to interact outside of the Dreamscape in a later season. Farmworld Finn does part ways very casually, as if the writers know this won't be the last time they cross paths. Huntress vows to save Finn, but despite the fact she just killed a god for him, she refuses to respond to him telling Huntress that he loves her, even though this could be the last time she's able to speak to him in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully, after this season is all said and done, she can sign up for some therapy with Minerva. And that's all we have for this one. Pretty stacked episode, and it's the kind where you're glad that Adventure Time has over 15 years of lore to pull from. That said, drop your thoughts in the comments down below, and keep the convo going on Twitter and Insta at AwestruckVox and at RoundtableVids. If you enjoyed this video, throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on, so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.